Welcome. My name's Dan Mendelevitz. I want to personally welcome you to the launch of Bridging of Ages. I'm really excited to be part of the DFN, the Diamond Factor Network Broadcast Studio. And today we're going to learn together about Bridging of Ages. And we want to see what some future shows are going to be like. We're going to have some folks come on to talk about from different aspects of my life. And you're going to have an opportunity to learn all about Bridging of Ages. Think about where you're at right now and think about different generations and how they relate to each other. Are those barriers artificial? We're going to talk about that on future shows. Here with an opportunity on the DFN network, we can do all sorts of different shows and different ways of doing things. So today you're going to see how these different parts are going to be coming forward, and you're given an opportunity in the future to participate. We want to thank you for coming on and being part of our celebration today. And we're going to see in a few minutes what Bridging of Ages is all about. Back to Bridge Builder Bits on Bridging of Ages. Today we talk about talent. We walk past the talent every day, and then we turn around and say, we can't find any talent. How are we excluding it? Because of conscious or unconscious bias. We are not looking at talent that is right in front of us. We walk right by it. Whether it could be because they're too young, they're too old, or don't meet that perfect purple squirrel that we're trying to look for. We walk past talent every day. Don't walk past the talent. It's right in front of you. This has been another Bridge Builder Bits on Bridging of Ages. Welcome back. So I wanted to give you a little idea of how I came to Bridging of Ages and share a little bit about my personal journey. One of the things is that I really hate to see brain power wasted. I personally have experienced age discrimination, but I have found through my work that I'm really successful in building and leading intergenerational teams. And I want to remove the barriers and those artificial designations between people of different ages. It's kind of interesting. We want to be able to see how our elders can help, how our youngers can help, and really get a mentoring situation between the two. So let me give you a little idea of how I came here. You know, as other people, I've gone through various journeys in my life. I was a very successful program project manager, did it for many years, started off in the technical fields. And really, you know, I went and found, started many years ago as a programmer. I was doing all sorts of database things and stuff like that. And what I found is I had this opportunity to start to lead people in project management, and I found my niche because it gave me the opportunity to connect the dots. And not just to connect the dots for the projects we were working on, but to really connect the dots between the people. And I love that aspect of it. And what I found is everybody has something to contribute. And when you have different levels of experience, each one can interact with the other, and we come up with all this wonderful innovation. But as I went along, I found that we like to put people in boxes, and we're all familiar with a lot of the isms out there. But for me, what I realized is as I would continue going, I would find age started to matter. And people would think of me in different stages of my life without even knowing how I did my work. And I thought, wow, if I get excluded or somebody else gets excluded, there's wasted brain power. And that was really what I was working from. Most of you have probably been in different mentoring situations. I've had the opportunity to do that, especially when I was a program manager. I mentored a lot of people who worked under me. But there's never a successful mentoring situation where it doesn't go both ways. And what's important is to allow yourself to learn as well as teach. And that's what I love to do. I love that teaching aspect. Eventually I moved out of the technical field and started doing it on the business side. And one of the things that I was able to do was translate between technical and non-technical people, which was a skill that not necessarily everybody had. But what was nice is in a lot of businesses, what I would find is that the technical people tended to be a little younger and the business side tended to be a little older. But bridging that communication was part of what I really enjoyed doing, and looking for those diamonds in the rough that would allow you to bring them forward and help them shine. In more recent times, I've gotten involved in some of the Elder Society and the Mankind Project and some other opportunities for mentoring and speaking and teaching and training. And I have found over and over again that as I walk in, they look at my gray hair and they suddenly think only a certain way. You know, we have all sorts of prejudices that a lot of them are unconscious and we don't even realize we're doing them. So what's really important is for us to be able to bridge that. So through my various experiences of speaking, training, running programs, running projects, all those kind of things really allowed me to understand better how to bridge the ages. And it's important to bridge that gap. And as you'll see in as we go through the series and you see the different shows, we'll have the opportunity to learn those kind of things that I have been able to experience over the years. There really is no substitute for experience, but everybody has some type of experience. And that was what I was always finding. It's really important to be able to do that. And as I said, what do I really hate? I really hate when I'm seeing the waste of brain power. Because if you think about it, we know about the Einsteins and the Gandhis and the Mandelas and Madame Curie and those. But think about somebody who was a sharecropper or in a factory or a sweatshop and their brain was wasted. Think about people on your team who may not speak up. We can draw that out. And that's something about what I'm looking forward to teaching. So it's really important that the mission of bridging of ages is really comes out of that title. What we're really looking to do is to break down the barriers of these artificial sections and how we divide our generations, to bridge the communications between younger and older people, and to recognize the brain power in all those levels. Because what you'll find is that you're really going to get more innovation, more productivity, and it will help your business and organization. So everyone can be a little more successful if we are bridging of ages. So just to give you a little idea, where can you find these various things? What have I done in the past that brought me to this? I mentioned that I did the successful program and project management. I'm working currently in the Elder Society of the Mankind Project. But I have been in all sorts of different circumstances. I even was selling mattresses at one point. And you would think, okay, how does that bridge ages? When if you've ever been in a retail situation, you need to be able to talk to anybody who walks in that door. That allows you to bridge the communication. I had young people coming in. People have been, around for a while, and everyone had a different communication style. And how do we blend that? So that experience helped. Learning how to speak properly. Many years in Toastmasters, getting an opportunity to do that kind of talking and that kind of active listening. So one of the things you will find in some of the upcoming podcasts that we have is the idea of active listening. Because if you think about it, this is one of the things I learned, especially as a project manager. We always speak thinking that we're going to stick in our little piece ourselves, but are we truly listening at that point? So it's important for us to understand that we are going to be doing that. So I hope that you will come along for the journey and really enjoy where you can see Bridging of Ages going and the experience that we can all have together. So let's go back to break, and we'll see you shortly. Welcome back to Bridge Builder Bits on Bridging of Ages. Today's bit is on intergenerational teams. Intergenerational teams are always more productive. And why are they more productive? Because they bring a vast amount of experience levels. And because of this, we have greater innovation. And they can complete things much more efficiently. We have people's different experiences. When we learn how to integrate those and build on them and use them, we will all be more productive. So look for intergenerational teams to help your productivity. This has been another Bridge Builder Bits on Bridging of Ages. Welcome back. So I'd like one of the things that we will find is there's some folks that I've had the opportunity to interact with over the years, and we want to bring on, we'll be bringing on and talking to them in a few minutes. One of my special guests, Calvin Gibbs, was able to send a video. He couldn't be here today, and we're looking forward to what he has to say. He and I worked together in a leadership position in Toastmasters, and also I was very involved in a panel with him on a podcast. We worked and had that opportunity to do those kind of communications. And we had a very intergenerational team, so it was actually very successful. So let's see what Calvin has to say.
Everyone, I'm Calvin Gibbs, host of Born to Speak to You TV, right here on DFN Broadcast Studios, and I'm the host of Diverse Talking Heads podcast. Today I want to take a moment to give a big shout out to a good friend, a fellow Toastmaster and collaborator, Dan Mendelevitz, on the exciting launch of his new streaming TV show, Bridging of Ages. Dan and I go way back from our time together in Toastmasters to working side by side on Diverse Talking Heads podcast and just being good friends who enjoy great conversation. Dan, I want to wish you great success as you bring your dream and your vision to life. The world needs more dialogue that connects us, and Bridging of Ages is going to do just that. So, welcome to the DFN Broadcast Studio family, my friend. I'm proud of you, and I just can't wait to see the impact your show will have. Congratulations, Dan. Let's keep bridging those ages.
Thank you, Calvin. It's really been a pleasure to work with Calvin and be part of his show. And also, as we were on the panel together, and we've had many years together in Toastmasters, and really appreciate that. Thank you, Calvin. So we'll be going to another break here, and afterwards we'll be talking with our live guest. Look forward to further talking about Bridging of Ages. Welcome back. Well, hello. I want to welcome my guests today. We have Eric Feinendagen. We've known each other many years in Toastmasters. Eric has his own successful practice and speaker, and he'll give you an opportunity to tell you a little bit about that. Also, my colleague Dan Goldberg, he and I met through the Mankind Project. We've worked on several projects together, and he has been extremely active and very instrumental in some of the successes in the Mankind Project. And as you can see, people from very different aspects of my life, but an opportunity to, share with us. And we're glad to have them here in our launch today. And shortly, we'll be bringing on another guest. And why don't we start, Eric, if you could just give us a brief about what you're working on now, and we can go from there.
Sure, absolutely, Dan. Well, first, I want to thank you for having me, and welcome to our other guest, Dan Goldberg. And I know Barbara Beckley is the person behind the scenes. Just a big welcome to everybody. But Dan, this presentation is about you. I want to congratulate you, my friend. This is so exciting. I know this is something that has been a vision of yours for quite a while. And just to see it come to fruition and to kick things off is just, it's a tremendous moment. And I'm just happy to be a part of it. So a little bit of a background on me. I've been in financial planning for over 21 years. I'm also a professional speaker. Dan and I have known each other through a variety of different endeavors, Toastmasters being the main one. But Dan, I want to, let the audience know kind of who you are as a person and how I know you and why I think this is going to be such a successful project for you. So, yeah, I got to know Dan a little over 10 years ago. And, one of my favorite quotes is from leadership expert John Maxwell when he says, be a river, not a reservoir. Dan, my friend, you are a river. You are someone, as long as I've known you, you have stepped up. You've taken on leadership roles. You've given back to the community, whether it's through Toastmasters, Mankind Project, or in the lives of the people that are close to you. And, you and I have had a chance to collaborate on a bunch of different projects. Namely, we've been able to have lunch together. And Dan, I just want to tell you, those are some of the most memorable lunches because you, with your experience, and yes, the gray hair, and it's coming in here, you share that, right? You were able to guide me, to mentor me, to lead me in the right directions. I had questions about, a speech I was given on delegation, and you shared your wisdom and everything that you've been able to acquire over the years. And I cannot thank you enough. That shows, who you are as a person. But I want to go back to mentorship, Dan, because I think that's one of the greatest gifts that you can give somebody. And you've given it to myself, the other people in your life, and now you're giving it to the people that are going to be watching this show. So I'm just here to say I cannot think of a better individual on this planet to bring the generations together, to share in community, to share in conversation, and all learn from one another. Let me know how much time I have because I can go for a while.
We'll circle back around to you, Eric. But thank you very much.
All right, fine. I've got some other thoughts, Dan, but I just wanted to share that.
We'll give Dan a chance to speak, and thank you for that.
You bet.
Thank you for that, Eric. Dan Goldberg. Okay. We're not hearing you. Like every other system, we can always have something happening. Technology. Okay. Dan will be back shortly.
Do I get my other couple of minutes, Dan?
Part of, as we all know, part of putting podcasts together is we all eventually run into some technical difficulty. Sometimes our guests have a little trouble getting in. Sometimes, it freezes up. It's still an imperfect system, but the opportunity to be able to talk across continents, and to be able to do that on a regular basis is just wonderful. I mean, I had a project I was working on that was in 100+ countries, and I would have people on the call from Australia to Qatar on at the same time. And, it's just wonderful. The technology allows you to talk across the globe. So just check one more time with Dan and see if we're working here. Otherwise, Eric, so I know that you've had an opportunity to do a lot of speaking and be out there, and I'm sure some of the companies that you've come across are running into the same things that I'm going to be talking about on this show, where the communication between their younger and older workers, how to keep those teams cohesive, the looking at how experience is very important, but also how people new to it have to learn it. And we talk about the beginner's mind, and when you're mentoring, you really have to think in that way of what it was like when you first did it. That isn't easy, especially when we've been doing things for a while.
Absolutely. Yeah, Dan, I want to speak to that very briefly. And, when Dan Goldberg comes back, we can hand the baton over to him. But yeah, in my career as both a communicator, a professional speaker, and as a financial planner, I have the opportunity to work with people older than me, same age as me, and, obviously the younger generations. And what I think you're doing with this show and the Bridging of Ages, Dan, is you're starting the conversation, and I think you're tackling a really big crisis that we have in society. And the crisis is this: how are we going to solve today's problems? And what you said in the beginning is we're walking past talent all the time. What's so great about this platform is now we're encouraging everyone to draw from all the resources, not just a pool of resources, but all of them. Our current generation, our younger generation, and especially our older and senior generation, because there's such a wealth of knowledge that we are not tapping into, that with this platform and the conversations that we're going to be having, that we can now, go ahead and mine that gold that's available. And it does start with conversations, with communication and awareness, Dan. And when it comes to, making things happen, then you have to have action. And that's what I think we're doing here, is having action with this platform.
Well, thank you. Let's bring Dan back in.
Oh, thanks, Dan. Can you hear me now?
Yes, great. Thank you.
Glad to hear it. There was a little bit of technical error there, but we've got it going now. Yeah, I've known Dan for about 11, 12 years now, I'm thinking. I've been involved with the Mankind Project that Dan spoke of earlier. As a matter of fact, I staffed Dan's weekend when he went back in 2014, and I've become good friends with him ever since. Dan and I ride together, going to our meetings occasionally, so we have a lot of time to talk. And when Dan was struggling in between jobs and looking for something different to do, we were constantly talking, and I encouraged him to get involved with our elder community within the Mankind Project, which is a national organization helping men get in touch with feelings and emotions, and Dan's becoming a very integral part of that. And one of the things he does in the elder community is talk to the younger generation. He welcomes them into the weekends. He's incredibly supportive. And I can't say enough good things about him. He's always open to new ideas. He's constantly getting committed to different processes that we do, or different workshops that we're holding. And Dan even runs, I believe, one of our elders communications chats every week. So very proud of him, and happy to be a part of this.
Well, great. Thank you, Dan. It's been wonderful to have the opportunity to work with Dan over the years. And like you said, we have the Mankind Project that we both work on. Dan has been extremely active, has helped form some of the constituencies and help them succeed. If you like, you can just talk briefly about the business you do.
Sure. I'm in the product fulfillment business. So think of Amazon, but on a much smaller scale. And we warehouse goods for a number of different companies where their online shopping carts accept the orders and they automatically come into us. And our teams pick and pack the orders, ship them out, and more often than not, save our customers on shipping costs. So I've been doing this now for 33 years. And Yeah, I'm an elder, but I have no intentions of retiring anytime soon.
Well, that's what I get at when I talk about we don't want to waste that brain power.
Nope.
You have a wealth of experience. I'm sure you find the same thing where some of the the younger people who come into your business and the mentoring that you have to do. And
Sure.
I'm sure even with that mentoring and all your experience, and I've seen you do this. You're open to what you can learn from them also.
That's actually my mission, is to mentor those around me through listening, learning, discussing possibilities. And I consider what I do mentoring on a daily basis, whether it be at work, whether it be involved with with Mankind Project, the cooking teams that I'm involved with on weekends, uh, just every aspect of life, there's a mentoring opportunity. And I think I got that from my grandfather. Um, he was a very learned man in Kansas City, and whenever he would come to visit us or we would go to visit him, I learned very early on, never ask him a question unless you've got an hour for an answer, because you could not walk out on the man. So oftentimes I upset a date back in my teens because we didn't have cell phones, we weren't texting back then. But I learned a great deal from him, and it's what elders can pass on to the younger generation is invaluable. And I see Dan doing that on a regular basis.
Well, thank you, Dan.
Sure.
We have our third guest. This is my partner in life, my wife of many years, and she has some insight into what I do. She's seen me through the various trials and travails and how I've worked into different, industries and systems, and seen some of my successes and times when I've fallen down and always been there for me. And, that's what's important. She can, obviously, Sharon, just say a little bit about what kind of work that you do, and then we can go in from there.
I'm a clinical social worker and had to reboot a couple of years ago. I spent years in school systems, and the year after COVID decided that this was no longer a good place to be. And Dan was very helpful and supportive in terms of helping me figure out where I wanted to go next. So I am working with a group therapy practice, primarily working with adults. My population at the moment goes from age 35 to age 93. And one of the things that Dan has been wonderful about is supporting me because, again, as some of us get older, we're not as technologically adept. And perfect example of I got online for this earlier. Everything was fine. I walked away and it was not connecting on my computer. So I'm actually talking to you from my cell phone. Being older is something that hopefully is going to happen to all of us. And we need to learn both from our experiences in the past and how to work with people of different ages and not to make assumptions. And I think that's one of the things that Dan has been pinpointing is that you don't just put somebody out to pasture because they are over whatever age is determined. Nowadays, I know in the technology field, the age keeps dropping younger and younger, and it used to be 50 and then 40, and I'm now hearing 30 means that you're no longer a hot commodity. What I think Dan is trying to point out to people is that we can learn from our elders, we can learn from people who have experience, and that it's very important in the workforce to have people of a variety of different ages. The practice that I'm part of, I am one of the eldest therapists working there. We have people who are doing their internships in grad school. And I think that it's helpful being able to compare and to share information across the generations. And I think that it's wonderful that Dan is starting the podcast trying to do that.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that. And, as I said, I wanted to bring people from various aspects of my life. And as you can see, in each situation, every one of my guests is finding some very similar things. That communication, how we can learn from experience, how various experience levels, as when they interact, help build innovation. And it's really nice to see how it comes across in these various things. You also saw that with Kelvin. He's seen the same thing in the work that he's done. He was very involved with theater for many years, and he was able to, get a lot out of people who were at various experience levels. And we all come across it because anybody, and the people on my screen have all done this. Anybody who's done mentoring really gets an idea of what it feels like to be on either side of that, whether you're the mentor or the mentee. And, we're really looking for an opportunity here to really have that mutual respect. And as I said in the beginning, I hate wasting brain power. I just don't like to see it go away. And everybody has something to contribute. So I'm just curious if any of you would like to jump in. How does you've all talked about how there's this mutual respect and curiosity that you find at different age levels, and I'm just curious how you see that building and actually being a net positive for the people that you work with.
Sure, Dan, I can take that one and kick things off with. Just wanted to share a quick story. You talk about mutual respect. I had the opportunity right before COVID hit to, share the stage with the founder of UGG Boots, Brian Smith. And, you want to talk about respecting somebody. Here's a guy who started $1 billion brand. And, just to be on the same stage with him, I was definitely nervous and apprehensive. But the more I got to talk with Brian, it was a 3-day conference, and, look at things from his perspective and, the experience that he had, building this unbelievable brand. It just opened my eyes to a lot of different things. And I want to share with the audience members, and I ran across and this is why it's so important what you're doing, Dan, that when you look at the Fortune 500 CEOs right now, a study said that 80% of them got to where they were because of the mentorship. Mm-hmm. And that is the importance of tapping into, right, our senior generation, those that have come before us, those that have more experience than us. And when we can, accept that, then that fosters even more respect and more communication. And, when you look at bridging of ages, it's just going to shine a light on that and in the voices of our elder community. So I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, we have strength through these intergenerational teams, as you've seen in your own work, and the experience levels. So I know that then when I've done this, we talk about, sometimes we make these assumptions, that when you get older, necessarily you can't do the technology. And I can say I worked on a very large project, and the interesting part was I was ended up teaching the technology to a lot of the younger members. But I was also learning from them because, if you look at a business, who are you selling to? Who are your customers? Do you have that demographic in your own business that reflects that? Because you will see things in a very different light. And that's what I like to get to, and I think it's important that we have respect going both ways. You've all talked about that and shown that here. So And just wanted to ask you, Dan. You've seen, especially when you're working with the younger men, you've probably seen some differences as the generations go. I know that when I've worked with them, there is a real hunger now for mentorship from the elder members, and just wanted to see if you've come across that also.
Good.
Thank you.
There we
There
go.
you go.
Yeah. Thanks. And I come across this all the time, especially within MKP, the Mankind Project. When I first went through the organization, there was no real continuity around who was cooking and what food was being cooked. And I have a food background. My degree is hotel restaurant management. And I decided, as much as I enjoyed staffing the weekend and working with the people, that maybe my talents were better served by feeding the staff, because if the staff was well fed, they could work better and facilitate better dealing with people of all men of all ages. We accept men from 18 on up. And I've seen 18-year-olds go through, and I've seen 85-year-old men go through. Um, and it's incredible to see the transformation when they do go through these weekends, because it's very experiential. Primarily, we're dealing with men who are stuck in the old mode of men don't cry, suck it up. And we learned over the years to just listen to people and have active communication and mentor them. And as I've grown the men of service, which is the cooking team, again, I've got guys that come and help us that are in their 80s, and I've got guys that come and help us that are in their 20s, and everybody in between. And we mentor them. Guys come to us, they have no idea how to cook, no idea how to handle a knife. And we teach them knife skills. We teach them how to cook. And it's one thing to cook for 2 or 3 people. It's another thing to cook for 80 people all weekend, 3 meals a day. So through a mentorship process, we've built a really strong organization or a constituency called the Men of Service.
Yeah, I mean, this is a prime example where the mentorship and how the interaction of the different ages come together. And
Sure.
and you have built this wonderful system, and I will tell you that the food is light years ahead of where it used to be on these on these weekends. And Dan has a lot to do about it. And I also wanted to ask you, Sharon, you had an opportunity, especially between the school and what you're presently doing, to really work with a lot of different age levels and seeing how they interact and communicate differently.
I was waiting for the question.
Well, I just wanted to hear a little bit about how you're, how you've seen the interaction different. Yeah.
One of the scenarios that I found intriguing for me was when I realized that one of the new teachers that I was working with had gone through high school with my son. And here she was, this was her first professional job, and working with her as a colleague and having to put some of my assumptions aside. What I see is that a lot of people tend to lump you into different categories. That you're either hip and with it, or you're out of touch with what's going on. I have a client currently who's a musician who I think gets fascinated when I bring up stuff that's happening in the music scene with him. And can mention that there's currently a play going on at the Goodman that one of the people who wrote it, Tom Morelli, was one of the lead members of Rage Against the Machine. And his assumption that, my therapist, who is a senior citizen, might not know this person. So again, I think a lot of us need to stop making assumptions and start taking people at face value and assume that they are competent at what they do until proven otherwise.
Okay, well, thank you. That's a prime example, and it's a lot about what this show, Bridging of Ages, is about. Um, I just wanted to ask you each if you just had about a minute or so each, just if you had some parting thoughts. Eric?
Yeah, absolutely. Once again, I want to thank you, Dan, for having me. And, it's great to see all the support you're having from family, friends, and it's just a wonderful endeavor. But I want to share one more quick, very brief story about the importance of, mentorship and giving back. Last month, my middle son, Ben, he's 15 and a half. He went to his very first dance. It was homecoming. And he had about 6 or 7 friends come over. And what was interesting is they all showed up and they were all walking to the door with their tie in their hand, which I thought was odd to me. I said, how come you're not fully dressed? Well, none of them were taught how to tie a tie.
Mm-hmm.
So it was interesting. There I was, standing right outside the bathroom. Okay, next. And there was literally a line of 15-year-olds with their ties in their hand, coming to, the elder, the guy getting the gray hair, to show them how to tie a tie. And, we all took a group picture with their, with the brand new ties.
That's a great story.
Yeah. And what it does is, again, it shines a spotlight on what you're doing, Dan, which is you're tapping into people who have done things, been there, who have the experience, who have the resources that can make life easier for all of us, that can make life better and create lasting relationships between all of us in society, which when we look at it, what's going on in the world today, that's what it comes down to. Can we add value to one another? Can we have strong relationships? And Dan, what you're doing with Bridges of Ages just leads into that. Couldn't be more proud of you, my friend. I'm here to support you. Congratulations. And look forward to checking in on more of these shows. Thanks again for having me.
All right. Thank you, Eric. Sharon.
Interestingly enough, when our son was working on his Eagle Scout project, one of the topics that he chose to focus in on was ageism. He was looking at it from the other perspective, saying, why is it that people assume that teenagers aren't capable of doing things or making decisions? And he would have been very pro getting the choice to vote at age 16. What we're seeing currently in our society is that there is a lot of activism within the youth. I'm not going to comment on what direction our country is going, but I think that we all know that we need to interact with each other. And the foremost thing that we need to do is to be kind. And again, I think that's one of the things that Dan is stressing with this, is that we can look across the generations, we can acknowledge that we have differences, but that we can still treat each other with respect. And that's something that I'm all in favor of and have been all of my life.
Well,
So
thank
I'm
you.
glad to see Dan moving on with this, and I'm excited about what it may open up.
Right. Thank you. Dan.
Okay. Actually, it's funny. I wasn't sure what I was going to say, and then Eric triggered me with his tie story. I have an exact opposite tie story. My stepson was getting married in Mexico about 4 years ago, and they were all the bridal party was wearing bow ties that we had to tie, and I had never tied one in my life, nor had my wife. So I'm actually walking around the resort. We're down in Mexico. And I'm walking around the resort, and thankfully I ran into my stepson's best man. He tied my tie for me. So here, I was late 60s at the time, and here he is, 32, 33, and he's tying my tie for me. I thought that was kind of impressive. But Dan, I love what you're doing here. I really wasn't sure how much, what was all this was going to be about before I got on here, but I'm glad you asked me to join, and I wish you a lot of success with building this platform. And I'll be here to support you.
All right. Well, great. Thank you, Dan. Thank you,
Sure.
Sharon. Thank you, Eric. And now let's hear a little bit about the DFN Broadcast Studio Network. Welcome back to Bridge Builder Bits on Bridging of Ages. Today we talk about longevity. Why do we want to live to 100, but we can't work after 50? Why do we exclude people with experience? Why do we tell them that they're no longer needed? But we all want to live a long life. Why exclude the second half of your life and not be able to contribute? Think about what you're missing out in by not bringing that experience into your organization or company. So I hope you get to live for a long life and hopefully to 100. But let's not exclude people because they want to get there. This has been another Bridge Builder Bits on Bridging of Ages. Welcome back. I want to thank my guests for joining us today. And I believe we have a question from one of the audience. They asked, how do you personally bridge the gap when you find differences in values or communication styles? Now, I'll answer quickly now, but it will be in a subsequent show. I mean, this could take an entire podcast to answer your question, but I appreciate you asking. It really is, you need to look for what's in common, not what is different. And I think what you will find is with most people, if you will take the time and listen, that you will be able to see something in common with that other person. And that's a great place to start. So I just wanted to thank my guests today, and people have come to see our kickoff today, and just give you an idea what's coming up. We're going to be tackling various topics. Just for the first few shows, we're going to look at are these generational divides really real? And we're going to talk about intergenerational dialogue. And then we're going to look at strength in intergenerational workforces. And these are all important topics. We're going to be going forward You can subscribe at Bridging of Ages. And every Tuesday, starting November 18th, we're going to be releasing a new podcast at 5 p.m. Central Time. And we're looking forward to interacting with our audience. And also, we're always looking for guests for upcoming topics. You can send me a note at bridgingofages@gmail.com if you're interested, and we can take a look and see about bringing you on, because there is so much wisdom out there. And I want to thank you again for all joining us for our launch of Bridging of Ages. My name is Dan Mendelevitz. Back to Bridge Builder Bits on Bridging of Ages. Today we talk about talent. We walk past the talent every day, and then we turn around and say, we can't find any talent. How are we excluding it? Because of conscious or unconscious bias. We are not looking at talent that is right in front of us. We walk right by it. Whether it could be because they're too young, they're too old, or don't meet that perfect purple squirrel that we're trying to look for. We walk past talent every day. Don't walk past the talent. It's right in front of you. This has been another Bridge Builder Bits on Bridging of Ages.